Hello, and thank you for joining us today at this critical time in world history as we commemorate the 155th anniversary of Juneteenth. Our program, Freedom, Historic National Virtual Commemoration of Juneteenth, is hosted by 6 African American museums. My name is Ahmad Ward. I am the Executive Director of Historic Mitchellville Freedom Park, located on Hilton Head Island, South Carolina.
And I'm Lanisha DeBartolavin, Executive Director of the Northwest African American Museum, located in Seattle, Washington. We are collectively here today to commemorate Juneteenth. Before Juneteenth became a cultural holiday, it was a historic event. It began June 19, 1865, when a Union General, Gordon Granger, arrived to Galveston, Texas, with the late announcement that slavery had ended 2.5 years prior in the former Confederate states, including Texas. This day calls us to attention.
History is never really about the past. The past for us is present, and history is for us the living. Hello, I am Timothy A. Barber, the director of the Black Archives located in Miami, Florida. Today is about bringing history to the present. The Emancipation Proclamation, an executive order authored by Abraham Lincoln with input from Frederick Douglass, was issued on January 1st, 1863, instantly freeing enslaved people only in the Confederate States. In all of American history, no other single political gesture marked a more significant step towards fulfilling the nation's promise of freedom for all.
However, the Black residents in the Texas island city of Galveston on the Gulf of Mexico were not apprised of this liberating news. Like the ravages of COVID-19, 155 years later, when we are dying at grossly disproportionate rates, the government announcement came far too late and suffering was accentuated. Hello, I'm Terry Freeman, President and CEO of the National Civil Rights Museum in Memphis, Tennessee. For more than 2 years after the signing of the order, our dear ancestors remained bound under the evil yoke of slavery. Upon hearing the deferred news, the formerly enslaved African descendants of Galveston began their jubilee and celebration. The date would be remembered every year and would soon be called Juneteenth, a contraction of the words June and 19th.
For generations thereafter, hundreds of communities across the U.S. eventually regarded June 19th as a holiday. Hello, I'm Neil Barclay, President and CEO of the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. It was Michigan's Congresswoman, Barbara Ross Collins, who first introduced a bill in 1996 that petitioned the U.S. government to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. In her congressional remarks on the legislation, which still has not been enacted into law, she stated that the dehumanizing and degrading conditions of slavery were unnecessarily prolonged for hundreds of thousands of Black men, women, and children because our American government failed to communicate the truth. In the wake of a mass global uprising, where thousands are in the streets from London to Paris, from Kenya to Brazil and beyond, in righteous protest to the brutal police murder of George Floyd and innumerable other African descendants and people of color, this bill should now be enacted into law.
Although the crucial lesson of Juneteenth, to be vigilantly alert and politically informed, is rooted in the past, more importantly, it is about the present. Hello, I'm Woody Keon, President and CEO of the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center, located in Cincinnati, Ohio. Understanding the events of the past, including Juneteenth, offers us strategies to face current challenges and find our way forward, especially in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. History reminds us that we've seen this before and we've overcome it before. The present cannot surprise those informed by the past. Oppressive conditions create uprisings. Our freedom can no longer be delayed.
History then provides us with insight to fight the battles of our day. We are a people of innovation and self-determination. As these present times confirm, we have a long way to go until our community and society are free from our struggle for freedom, justice, and democracy. As Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King said, none of us are free until we are all free. Our 6 African American museums and all of our Black museums exist today to help us to be informed. And through critical analysis and independent thought, we can boldly face these issues with faith and conviction and illuminate a path forward to our collective victory.
Juneteenth serves as a starting point for us, a reference point in time, compelling us to consider how much further we can go if we just know and if we act boldly on our knowledge.
Juneteenth reminds us to be aware, to boldly challenge unfulfilled promises.
In any arena in life, almost free is not free. Freedom ain't free.
And delayed emancipation is denied emancipation.
Today, we use 3 Freedom Amendments, 13th, 14th, 15th, to explore 3 questions.
What should justice and equity look like in our society today? What will you do for your freedom? Why does voting matter? Black lives matter.
Stay tuned for the remainder of today's program, which will feature readings from 3 extraordinary national luminaries: U.S. Librarian of Congress, the Honorable Dr. Carla Hayden, noted educator, author, and icon, Dr. Janetta Besh Cole, and the 14th Secretary of the Smithsonian Institution, Mr. Lonnie Bunch. Today's program also features cultural performances, artistic expressions, spoken word, a scholarly dialogue, a DJ set, and so much more. Yes, stay tuned and let us explore freedom, because together we can move mountains.
And now, to read an excerpt of the 13th Amendment, U.S. Librarian of Congress, the Honorable Carla Hayden.
Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction.
Right here on the banks of the Ohio River, the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center, a leading institution in preserving and celebrating African American history, fosters the legacy of the Fourth Ward, the swamp, known by some, but better known as Little Africa, one of 3 original Black settlements here in Cincinnati. During the 19th century, many escaped slavery. They would cross over the Ohio River right through this area. Hence, this site was the gateway to freedom for hundreds. Our mission is to reveal the stories of freedom heroes from the Underground Railroad era to contemporary times, to challenge and inspire everyone to take courageous steps for freedom today. We fulfill this mission through our exhibits, our programs, and meaningful experiences. We take pride in being a convener of thought leaders and critical thinking in the areas of social justice, cultural competency, and bias, serving as a beacon for inclusive freedom. Galveston, Texas, and the origins of Juneteenth is so significant in the narrative of freedom. Over the years, we have partnered with our friends at the Cincinnati Juneteenth Festival, celebrating and promoting the equity and inclusivity of freedom, revealing the stories of heroes and sheroes like Sojourner Truth.
Well, children, where there is so much clatter, there must be something out to kilter. Between the Negroes of the South and the women of the North all talking about rights, the white man is going to be in a fix pretty soon. But what's all this they talking about? Well, that man over there says that women needs to be helped into carriages and lifted over ditches and given the best place everywhere. Nobody ever helped me into no carriage or lifted me over no mud puddle or given me the best place. And ain't I a woman? Look at me. Look at my arms, where I have plowed and planted and gathered in the barns, and no man could best me. And ain't I a woman? I could work as hard and eat as much as any man when I could get it and bear the lashes well. And ain't I a woman? I have borne 13 children and seen most all sold off to slavery. And when I cried out with a mother's grief, none but Jesus heard me. And ain't I a woman? And what's this thing that they talking about in the head? What's it called? Intellect. That's it, honey, intellect. What's that got to do with women's rights or Negroes' rights? If my cup won't hold but a pint and yours hold a quart, wouldn't you be a little mean not to give me a little measure full? And that man in black back there, he say, women can't have much as rights as men has because Christ wasn't a woman. Where did your Christ come from? Where did your Christ come from? God in woman. Man didn't have nothing to do with him. If the first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn this world upside down, don't you think these women here ought to be able to turn it right side again? And now they're asking to do it. Your men better let them. Well, much obliged to you for hearing old Sojourner, and I ain't got nothing much more to say.
Hi, my name is Dr. Mark Lomax II. I'm from Columbus, Ohio, and it's an honor and a privilege to have been named the MAC Music Innovator for the 2019-2020 season with the Cincinnati Symphony, and to have been invited to participate in the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center's virtual Juneteenth celebration, honoring sheroes of the movement. Today, I would like to present a piece, Wade in the Water, arranged for drum set, that echoes a movement from my 400 African Epic project, 12 albums, 8.5 hours of music that tells our story from pre-colonial African history through the Ma'afa 1619 to 2019 into the future, where I hope and pray that we will all have become a fully optimized human family. Again, thank you for letting me participate and contribute to the Freedom Center's virtual Juneteenth celebration. If you enjoyed what you heard, please check us out on the web at marklomaxii.com. That's MarkLomaxii.com. See you on the web. Peace.
In the making of Mitchellville, which the help of government officials, military personnel, and civilians, a foundation was established upon which we stand today. It is a foundation of remembering at a time when greed and fear and betrayal of humanity took root as the institution of slavery. Yet respect for life and freedom grew and prevailed.
My Lord, I done what you told me to do.
Welcome to Mitchellville. It is said that the truth can set you free, and the truth will open eyes and allow us to look our brothers and sisters in their eyes to see who they truly are. The town of Mitchellville sits on 150 acres and is first and foremost self-governed. The town is divided into districts for electing councilmen.
And the Praise House was the first social point for freed men, not only in Mitchellville, but in plantations. Mm-hmm. The Praise House was a place that we could be by we lone self and talk about what's going on in our day-to-day lives. So if your husband wasn't right, you run to the Praise House and you tell the preacher. Huh? Mm-hmm. If you might have been a little tired, a little weary, a little hungry, where you go? To the Praise House. Now the thing I love about the Praise House, that it really wasn't run by men. It was run by women. Because during those days, the woman was considered to be the first teacher. She carried a heavy weight. We do today, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. And so I love being here in Mitchellville, carrying on the legacy of the women who ran that Praise House. And it went on to become prayer meeting, teacher meeting. That's right. I don't care what your denomination, whether it was AME, Zion United Methodist, Baptist, Pentecostal, or anything else you want to create. That praying time, that teaching time came out of the Praise House. Even political conversation. Amen. Can we go back to that Praise House? Political conversation came out. So when I'm here, when we're here on Mitchellville, on the grounds of Mitchellville, I don't know about y'all, but I feel like I'm walking on holy ground.
Yes.
How y'all feel?
Yes.
Amen. Yes. Absolutely. Holy ground. Holy ground. And back behind this building here is the water.
Yes.
What y'all say? Is this holy ground?
It's holy ground.
It's holy ground. It's holy ground.
It make you want to say, believe I'll run on.
See what the end's gonna be.
I believe I'll run on.
See what the end's gonna be.
Yes, sir. I believe I'll run on.
See what the end's gonna be.
Yes, sir. I believe I'll run on.
See what the end's gonna be.
Time won't last.
Hallelujah.
Long white road.
Hallelujah. Waiting in the heaven for for me.
You better know, time won't last.
Hallelujah.
Long white road.
Hallelujah. Waiting in the heaven for me.
Where it gonna be?
Waiting in the heaven for me.
Oh, I believe I'll run on.
See what the end's
Y'all
gonna be.
feel like running? Yes. I believe I'll run on.
See what the end's gonna be.
Run on, y'all. Run on.
See what the end's gonna be.
Good God Almighty. Run on.
See what the end's gonna be.
Time won't last. Time won't last.
Hallelujah.
Long white road.
Hallelujah. Waiting in the heaven for me. Waiting in the heaven for me.
Now listen. I got a robe.
Hallelujah.
You got a robe.
Hallelujah. All of God's children got a robe.
Well, Lord.
When we get to heaven, gonna put on our robe and gonna shout all over God's heaven.
You don't know?
Hey, you don't know like I know what the Lord has done for me.
Oh, I believe I'll run on.
See what the end's gonna be.
Good God Almighty, run on.
See what the end's gonna be.
Y'all better run with me. Run on, run on.
See what the end's gonna be.
Well, Lord, run on.
See what the end's gonna be.
Now listen to this. I got a crown.
Hallelujah.
You got a crown.
Hallelujah. All of God's children got a crown.
What we gonna do?
When we get to heaven, gonna put on our crown and gonna shine all over God's heaven.
You don't know.
You don't know like I know.
Oh,
what the Lord has done for me.
woo! I'm telling you.
Yes, sir.
You feeling it? I believe I'll run on.
See what the end's gonna be.
Good God Almighty, run on.
See what the end's gonna be.
Y'all better run, run on.
See what the end's gonna be.
Good God Almighty, run on.
See what the end's gonna be.
Now listen to this. I got shoes.
Hallelujah.
You got shoes.
Hallelujah. All God's children got shoes.
What we gonna do?
When we get to heaven, gonna put on our shoes and gonna walk all over God's heaven. You don't know like I know what the Lord has done for me.
Ooh, I feel like I'm in church this morning, y'all.
Yeah.
You know, from the Revolutionary War
So many.
to the Civil War.
So
And you know,
many.
we forget the many men and women, white and black, that worked for the railroad. What you call that thing? That took the people to North?
The Underground Railroad.
Underground Railroad. Talk it like you know it now. Underground Railroad. So I went online and I looked at the numbers. And it brought my mind back to the men of Carolina who joined in the Civil War, the black soldiers that are now buried in Beaufort at the National Cemetery.
Okay.
Y'all saw the movie with Denzel.
Glory.
Glory. That's the movie.
Glory.
Don't it make you want to say glory?
Yeah.
And I thought about them. I thought about that group of men and women. I thought about the Civil War. I thought about the Revolutionary War, the fight for freedom from England. And then I went on to World War I, War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam conflict. We have been in a constant battle. Thought about that. And I was going to give all the numbers out. But do y'all know from the time of the Civil War, from the time of the Revolutionary War to the Civil War, there was over 5 million men and women who died. That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of.
I'm not even including the rest of the wars. So it brought me to this song. When the battle's over. We shall wear a crown. Oh, we shall wear a crown. Oh, we shall wear a crown. Now hold on a minute. Now I was talking about the wars and everything, but it was a battle through the civil rights. What Dr. King and those men did, coming from the north, coming down here on all the sit-ins, fighting for our equal rights in restaurants and hospitals and buying homes where we want to buy it. You know, that was a battle.
Yes.
When the battle's over, we shall wear a crown. Oh, we shall wear a crown. Oh, we shall wear a crown.
Today, our interest continues to bring us to this place called Mitchellville.
We shall wear a crown in the new Jerusalem. We're marching to Zion, beautiful, beautiful Zion. We're marching onward to Zion, that beautiful city of God. When the battle's over.
And now, to read an excerpt of the 14th Amendment, Dr. Janetta Besh Cole.
All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the law.
The war of the gods is on, and it's after us. The war of the gods is on, and it's after us. Sons, daughters, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, spirits, souls shaking. Stamp the earth below you, spit disgust and Sechiriva Jataka swallows you, bounds you and rolls over you. Death presses its ears to your doors for one of you. So turn your back to the pot filled with groundnuts. Turn your eyes from the chameleon looking at you. Turn your eyes from the night sky to night when Chibuka Mighty howls his unmissing spear at the old man Bujagal. The war of the gods is on and it's after us. Nakaima, why are you silent? Why have you forsaken us? Your beads shake with night fever. The war of the gods is on and it's after us. Send us your fire from the Musisi tree. We need to know who among the stars Walumbe is. Gana Maulide Ti Masuke. Death presses its ears on our doors for one of us. Sons, daughters, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, spirits, souls shaking. Have you cared for the stones of our sages? Have you cared to share your milk with us? Kaiguzi has grown tired and weak, and Bukuku was bribed with the holiday to the Bahamas. The gates of Guyana are open tonight. Isasa is here. Isasa is here. Isasa is here. Ratitura took his cows. Gana Maulide Ti Masuge. Warn your neighbor. Revenge is on the horizon. Higher, a grave digger. Naluba is not drying. Naluba is crying. Naluba is not dying. Naluba is crying.
Freedom is music of voices stitched together by fragments of hope, enriched by our languages once hidden under our throats. Since civilization made us ghosts, freedom is voices humming silence, remembering the ones we have lost in fright and in fear. Freedom is voices taking time to pray for strength, to give forgiveness, asking together for strength, to seek repentance. Freedom is knowing in the morning you have to open your heart's window and let the sun in. Freedom is chanting from inside the jail says, I'm free. Freedom is knowing why the cage bird sings. Freedom. Freedom. Freedom is me.
Greetings. My name is Timothy A. Barber. I'm the Executive Director of the Black Archives History and Research Foundation of South Florida. We are a repository that holds the collection of Black Miami from 1896, which is the city's incorporation date, to the present. I'm here today to greet you on behalf of our organization, our board of directors and our funders, and say happy Juneteenth. Today we celebrate the history of African Americans that worked so hard since coming to America in 1619 to build this country that we know today. Juneteenth celebrates and it recognizes the last group of slaves that were notified of its freedom, even though that notification came some 2.5 years later. What does it mean to be free? Even though that there's folktale that the messenger was assassinated, that's why they were notified 2.5 years later. Folklore that possibly the slave masters held back this information from the slaves to keep the free labor system going in America, or perhaps the federal troops delayed their arrival to Texas due to the fact they wanted to get in one last cotton harvest. What does it mean to be free? I was once told by Joseph Laurie, the late Reverend Joseph Laurie, that if you don't know where you come from, you will never know when they're trying to take you back. What does it mean to be free? Because even with the price of freedom in America, there has always been symbolisms that have been placed in our forefront as a means of fear to keep us encamped, to keep slaves in line, even to keep the black people today towing line. What does it mean to be free? From the slaveholders, from the taskmasters, from the whips, from the chains, to the lynching, what does it mean in America to be free? I stand before you showcasing one of the Black Archives' most prized possessions. This is an actual cross burned in Miami by the Ku Klux Klan in 1949 as a way to incite fear into a Catholic church in Miami Shores, because the Catholic Church sent a black rector to that location. What does it mean to be free? Symbols of hatred like this cross that stands before you, even to this day from 1949, the soot remains from the burnt means, the cloth remains from the outcome of hatred in America. What does it mean to be free? Symbolisms that went to sheets, that went to horsemen riding horseback, to shotguns, to burning and bombing. What does it mean to be free? Symbolism that of fear that was led by the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing, as well as the Charleston murders. What does it mean to be free? If fear amongst us is being driven to control us, what does it mean to be free? We see even now today the burnt cross has been traded in for a police badge. What does it mean to be free? When our black brothers and our sisters are being lynched in America, what does it mean to be free? So as we celebrate this Juneteenth, symbols like this, symbols like what happened to the slaves in the delay, symbols like what happened to Emmett Till, symbols like what happened to Medgar Evers, symbols that are before us each and every day as we continue to fight for freedom in America. An America where the symbolic kneeling down during the national anthem became an incitement of ostracizing one individual player who was standing up for what we're experiencing today. What does it mean to be free? In this America, Juneteenth, the symbolism of the notification of slaves, the last to be notified, that this day you're no longer bound to the fields, you're no longer bound to the cotton fields, you're no longer bound to a master. Does that mean freedom if even today our children have to be in fear of driving from home to a store for a loaf of bread or eggs? Our children have to be in fear of jogging through a neighborhood we have to be in fear for our lives to receive the same recourse that others in America have received. We're still fighting for this freedom. It may have been 2.5 years after the war that they were notified in June, but we have been sitting here for over 100 years still talking about what does it mean to be free. So we invite you today as you celebrate Juneteenth, not to forget what our forefathers taught, not to forget what our ancestors went through, not to forget the history of being black in America, as we continue to fight for what it means to be free. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dory Lerner from the National Civil Rights Museum in Memphis, Tennessee. This week I'm coming to you with the Juneteenth edition of Storytime. Do you know what Juneteenth is? It's a really special and very important holiday in history, and particularly in American history and in African American history. So today we'll learn all about it with this awesome book called Juneteenth for Maisie by Floyd Cooper. This book, Juneteenth for Maisie, was published by Picture Window Books, so we want to thank them for allowing us to share this book with you. Maisie wants to play outside, but it is too late. It's getting dark, Maisie. It's time to stay inside. Maisie wants a cookie, but it's time for bed. Not now, little one. It's too close to bedtime. Maisie wants to stay up late, but she's too little. Bedtime is the rule, sweet girl. Why so grumpy, Sugar Bear? Asks Dad. I can't go where I want, have what I want, or do what I want, answers Maisie. Well, tomorrow you can have a celebration, says Dad. What are we celebrating? Asks Maisie. We will celebrate the day your great-great-great-grandpa Mose crossed into liberty. The day will be celebrated by us and many more families on a day we call Juneteenth. Dad lifts Maisie into his arms. I bet you're tired of hearing no all the time. Well, great-great-great-grandpa Mose heard no even more. Grandpa Mose worked in fields that stretched all the way to sunset. He and the other people who were enslaved would be bone tired, but they had to keep going. Their enslavers wouldn't let them quit, but as they worked, they thought about freedom. And before they finally went to sleep at night, they prayed about freedom and made plans for change and a better future. Some enslaved people ran north to freedom, following a bright star in the sky. Have you heard of that before? The North Star? They sweat, they bled, and they cried, till those cries were quieted by a single proclamation from a brave president. Grandpa Mose heard that proclamation read from the balcony of the hotel on that warm June day in Galveston, Texas. Grandpa Mose heard nothing but cheers, saw nothing but happiness, and felt nothing but pride shared by all those around him. The cheers became dancing. The dancing became celebrating. It went on and on into the night. Grandpa Mose and the others had found freedom. They continued to work, but this time they were paid for their hard work. So they worked and they saved, and they never forgot the moment they heard, the moment that changed their lives forever. But things weren't perfect. Black people still struggled to stand shoulder to shoulder with white people. They still weren't treated as equals. It wasn't easy, but they never gave up, and every year on Juneteenth, they remembered. They marched for jobs. They lobbied for schools and the right to vote. They shouted for opportunity. Everybody, I don't know if you can tell, This bridge is one that you've probably seen in a picture before. This is called the Edmund Pettus Bridge. It's in Selma, Alabama. In fact, here's a picture of the marchers on the front cover of Life magazine. These were the marchers in Selma, Alabama, who were marching for voting rights. It's an amazing picture from history with John Lewis and Hosea Williams leading those marches. They were marching from Selma to Montgomery, but on that day, it was called Bloody Sunday, they didn't get there. A later Selma march was successful when they got to Montgomery. All right, back to our story. Every year on Juneteenth, they celebrated and remembered. They learned and they grew. They forgave. They excelled and achieved. They became heroes. Can you tell who that is? That was President Obama, wasn't it? Now, sweet Maisie, it's your turn to celebrate, just like great-great-great-grandpa Mose. It's your turn, Maisie, to eat some barbecue and drink some strawberry pop. It's your turn to celebrate. And to remember. That's the end of the story. But everyone, after the story's over, there's a note. And this is what the whole book is about. It says, on June 19th, 1865, soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas, announcing the end of the Civil War and the end of slavery in the United States. It was more than 2 years after President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. Celebrated every year on June 19th, Juneteenth commemorates the announcement of the abolition of slavery and the emancipation of African American citizens throughout the entire United States. So everyone, slavery had ended before this date in 1865, but not everybody knew. So in Texas, they didn't know until June 19th, 1865, that had happened and that the Emancipation Proclamation had been set forth. So everybody, I thought we could do a couple of things to celebrate Juneteenth. First of all, we have copies of a Juneteenth flag. So if you'd like to make one, at the end of this video, you'll see a link that you can click on so you can print off this Juneteenth flag. Here's the front side of the flag. That's the official Juneteenth flag. And then I just created a little back for the flag that says, celebrate Juneteenth, celebrate freedom. So everyone, you can color this. You can write it without copying it all. You don't have to actually print it or copy it. You can just color it yourself. And then this is what your flag will look like when you color it in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this as the front and this as the back, and I'm just going to put them together. Now, when you make a flag, you're going to need a flag pole, and that's what I dropped over here. You grab my supplies. We're going to need some art supplies. Not a lot, but a few. What you're going to need to put your flag together is some tape, some glue. You don't have to have the glue stick because you could just use tape. And then you're going to need some kind of pole, like a flag pole. And to make a flag pole, it could be something as simple as a paint stirrer. These are free and you get them at the hardware store if you're buying paint, but if you ask nicely, I bet they'll give you one. You could use a small paintbrush like this. You could use a pencil, but don't sharpen it. I would use one that's not been sharpened. That would work best. You could use a popsicle stick, but it won't have a very long handle for your flag. Easily, you could probably find a straw around your house. So you could use a straw, just put the bendy part of the flag the bendy part of the straw way up inside the flag so that you have the straight part of your straw to hold. And you could also use a plastic straw if you have one like this, the non-disposable kind that you don't mind using in a flag, and you could always take it out later when you want to use it. So, everybody, we are going to put our flag together now. It's going to be really simple. All we're going to need is our glue stick. We're going to put some glue on either side of the flag. Doesn't matter which side you do. We're going to take our tape, and when you do this with the tape, you're going to need your tape for attaching your flagpole, which is super easy. Just going to need a couple strips of tape here. You're going to want to make sure that when you're looking at your flag, you put your flagpole on this side, right? So we're going to take our paint stir, that's what we're going to use as a flagpole today. And we're going to put some tape right across that to hold it in place. We already put a little bit of glue on here, but just to hold it all together, we're going to add a little extra piece of tape, and we're just going to roll that up. You can make tape rolls, that's kind of fun. And if you make some tape rolls, you can just kind of stick them on the ends where you want to stick your flag together. And then put the two sides together. Press it down. Maybe a little extra glue just for good measure on the back of your flagpole. And voila! There's our Juneteenth flag. So you can wave that high. Also, everybody, notice it says celebrate Juneteenth and celebrate freedom. Perhaps, now I personally don't eat meat, but a lot of people do, and I'm in Memphis where lots of people eat barbecue. So in the book, they talked about eating barbecue. A lot of times people will eat barbecue. If you don't eat barbecued pork, maybe you eat barbecued chicken. If you don't eat meat, maybe you do barbecue sauce on a garden burger like I would do. So here's some barbecued ribs I'd love to share with you. And it talked about strawberry soda, so maybe you're gonna have some strawberry soda to celebrate this holiday. So everybody, I hope you enjoy some strawberry soda and barbecue and celebrating freedom this Juneteenth. Thanks so much for joining me for this small but mighty story time.
Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. Over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my own grave and go home to my Lord and be free.
And now, to read an excerpt of the 15th Amendment, Secretary of the Smithsonian Institution, Lonnie G. Bunch III.
The right of the citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on the account of race, color, or the previous condition of servitude.
My joy is between me and my gods are black. We meet in the mornings and work at night. We set our altars and convene with cotton and sugarcane and baby's breath. We light our candles for guidance and disperse our shells for clarity. My liberation is like molasses, seeping into my palms and smeared across my white sheets made for cleaning, not for white gaze, and my freedom is celebration. Rice and seeds woven into coil, it is all of my blood's memory. It rises like resistance in me, like survival in me. It is all roots and herbs and dust and red clay that I have not seen and have not touched, but remember. They visit me in the morning, when the sun recollects its hymn and kisses my cheek to wake me. It is the pain that burdens my back and shakes me, and we dance still. We find agency still, and the will to keep going, audacious to dream still. And that is when we work at night and imagine, merge as one, as continuum, one spirit and brain and heart in the same. We hold secret meetings in the stratosphere. We mend soil and roots and replant and replant and replant and never really die.
The first time I saw Black people ascending, I was in disbelief. Miraculous. It was on August 9th, a frigid end of summer, awoken by commotion of blinding blue and red hues, of dispatches and bombings and bullets, of get down nows and shrills and shrieks, and they killed my babies. I looked out my window and there it was. Black folk leaping into the ether, first one foot then the other, hovering over the ground like unholding to gravity. There were no wings, no parachutes, no bodies tethered to a million balloons, just young and old and in between, Black boys and Black girls and those non-conforming. Ayanas, Trayvons, Mike Browns, and Sandras ascending. Oscars and Rakias leaping like leopards in flight. Erics, Altons, and Philandos floating in the indigo night. And I cried, forgetting to remember that despite the dealings in the flesh, the spirit was always meant to soar. And I, and all those others who witnessed the takeoff that day, say those folks glided off the ground gracefully but floated away deliberately. That is to say, nothing about Black ascension is mishap.